I'll probably come to you first, Ben.
No.
I don't have to if you want me to come. If you want to. No, all right, I won't come to you.
Oh my god! Oh my god!
Falling off. Falling off.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Spacemen from Pluto podcast. I'm your host today, Dan, and I'm joined by
Noel, Ben,
James.
And Kristian.
Merry Christmas, everyone.
Yeah, Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas.
Happy holidays.
Happy holidays.
Unless you're not watching it the day it's released, in case, just hello. Because
Yeah.
Christmas is over now, probably.
Yeah, if you're not watching it on Christmas, then
Yeah.
hi.
Lovely to spend Christmas Day with you guys. It's really
Yeah,
great.
who needs a family when you've got a podcast to record?
Yeah.
Oh
exactly.
yeah. Oh yeah.
Definitely didn't record this 2 weeks ahead of schedule. No, we would never.
No, we don't do
They'll
that.
never know.
So last week we talked about our favourite Christmas films. So this week we thought we'd mix it up a little bit, and we're just going to do a bit of a review of 2020 films and TV.
Oh.
Yeah. Yeah. Not a general review, because maybe that would be slightly depressing for Christmas Day. You know?
Yeah.
So yeah, we're basically going to talk about what films we liked during this year, what TV we liked, and just have a bit of a discussion about that. But first, we're going to chat about what we've been watching this week. So I'll jump to you first, James.
Oh,
What
I
have
was
you
going to say,
been watching?
I am absolutely fuming about what I've been watching this week. So, this, Ben, as you know, so I've been
Oh,
working my
no.
way through Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., the Marvel show, right? And the thing is, no. It's not a great show. It's an easy watch. You can just binge it, switch off for a bit, and just. I don't want to call it white noise because I do enjoy the show, but it's just like a nice thing to have a chunk of something that I can always come to and watch, and like just kind of switch off for a bit. So I was like, brilliant, sweet, that's great. I fell off it when it was first coming out because I didn't enjoy it. Waiting a whole week for one episode and then having to like week by week, I didn't get as into it. So like, sweet, it's all finished now. It's all on Disney Plus. I can just watch that through. Sound. Got to the final season. Watched the first 4 episodes. And went, yeah. So if you enjoyed Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., you might watch these other shows. I was like, I'm not finished with Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. Where's the rest of it? Oh no, we're putting it out weekly, even though it finished airing ages ago. We're gonna still release it weekly on Disney Plus. So I'm now back having to wait a week for each
Oh,
episode, and I'm like, this show is not worth waiting a week for.
Oh dear.
So I need a new show. If anyone's got
Yeah,
any
you really-
recommendations.
You really do. Well, I mean, I'll be talking about telly shows later.
Have they
Maybe
all
you can get
finished? Can I
some
just watch them in one
Get some
bulk when I want?
recommendations.
Yeah.
Have you got any more to add, James? 'Cause I can just go into mine.
No, you go for yours. Literally, that's it. I'm just fuming that I've now got to wait to watch this mediocre show.
I mean, I've been trying to tell you for weeks, James, to stop watching Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. 'cause
No,
it's not
I've
that
come
good.
too far now.
Just give up. It's all right to give up, man. Some relationships you just have to walk away from. You know, you just gotta walk away from it.
Let go, James. Let go.
I checked out a show I got recommended from a friend. It was quite curious. It was a show. It's on YouTube. And it's kind of, I think it's a show. It's more like a mini-series. It's a New Zealand mini-series called The Eggplant. Or Aubergine. Aubergine.
Oh, fuck.
Okay.
Aubergine.
Jesus Christ.
in the UK. It's set, I don't know if it was just made as a show, or it's made like, because it's funded by something to do with the government, the New Zealand government, but there might just be funding, because each episode has like a message where it's like, well, this episode deals with bullying, because it's set in a school where the headmaster or headmistress, I don't know what the word is anymore. It's a woman is the headmaster. It's not really relevant. And she turns up to school, one day, and there's a giant aubergine just in the field, like a paper mache looking one.
Right.
And she's like, what the hell? why is this here? And so she's trying it, and she's investigating who put it there. And then each episode is a different student who they think did it, and then you get a flashback as to how they ended up seeing the eggplant in the field. And it's about 10 to 15 minutes an episode. And it's
What on
like,
earth?
That
yeah,
sounds
yeah,
weird.
and
Like,
it's
it sounds like something from CBBC. It doesn't sound like it's
yeah, I know, but it's like
particularly
it's
gripping.
it was quite curious because it's like it's both a comedy, but then it's like dealing with bullying and like I'm halfway through the third episode where it's about dealing with boys pestering girls for nude pictures and stuff. So it's like what's the word?
It's sort of like a light-hearted
edutainment.
Yeah, it's like a light-hearted vehicle for some good messages.
Yeah, because I thought, I think it's government. Because when I watched it, I thought, I think this is government funded to show young people about don't bully people.
Yeah.
But I think it's just a show.
Is it on YouTube Premium?
No.
Or is it just
on
it's
YouTube.
just free?
Just type the eggplant.
Oh,
It's
okay.
YouTube,
I think some
it's
other
the
stuff might
channel
come up if you
and-
start searching the eggplant.
Yeah. And it's just like these New Zealand kids
Okay, I'll give that a look actually.
dealing with. But yeah, it's quite good. It's all right.
Where did you hear about that?
Then a friend sent me the trailer over Instagram
Right.
because we watched like weird little stuff.
I guess I'll speak about what I've been watching because I think Ben, you've also been watching this, right? Because we discussed briefly how you have a bone to pick with His Dark Materials.
Oh yeah,
And-
there's a few episodes ago now, but yeah, episode 6.
Yeah. Episode 6. Well, okay. So, what episode are we up to? We're up to episode 6 now, aren't we?
I
Oh,
spoke
is it-
at time of release. It was a few.
At
weeks
time
ago.
of release. Oh shit! Yeah, we might edit around that.
I don't think anyone's
ooh.
under the pretense that we actually recorded this on Christmas Day.
Yeah.
Yeah, we've ruined the illusion. Yeah. So
Okay, spoilers for episode 6 of season 2 for anyone that's behind on the show. Time
Yeah.
code here to skip. Cheers, James.
So yeah, I'm curious to know if your bone to pick is the same as my bone to pick.
Okay, you
I have been enjoying His Dark Materials a lot, not as much as maybe I would hope, but it's been pretty good. It's definitely better than the first series. There's still something not quite right about it that I can't put my finger on.
Mrs. Coulter, sorry.
And yeah, and it started doing that thing where it's kind of poorly written and they need to get kind of characters to certain places or into certain situations, so they're just making stuff up.
I think I know.
So the scene that you didn't like, I suspect, is the one with Mrs. Coulter and the Spectres, right?
Yes.
Yeah, where
So,
she
a bit of background for Kristian and James. Yeah, go on.
Yeah. So basically, the Spectres are these things that exist in another parallel world where Lyra's ended up with another character called Will. And the Spectres, I think the Dementors from Harry Potter, they're a little bit like that.
Okay.
They sort of suck out your soul or something like that. A bit like what the Dementors do. But they ignore children for unknown reasons.
It's because they're not. Before they reach puberty, they just ignore children for some reason. Yeah.
Yeah, it ties into the plot, and we kind of are getting to understand why they ignore children over adults. But with adults, they just leave them like as husks of people who just kind of stare at the wall all day. Anyway, Mrs. Coulter's from Lyra's world, and she manages to get into this world with the Spectres, and she sees these Spectres, and then decides that it's fine. She can just walk up to them because all she needs to do is just hide that she's
What
human.
makes her human? She can suppress it.
She can
and
suppress
she can
the fact.
control
and-
them.
And now Mrs. Coulter can control the Spectres. And honestly, I can't remember if that happened in the book.
I hope not.
And I think it may have done to some extent, but not in the extent that they're sort of like illustrated here. It's like now she can. It's basically like as if, Bellatrix Lestrange and Harry Potter suddenly decided that she could tell the Dementors what to do and make them use them to her kind of advantage. It was just really poorly written because like there was no lead up to it. There was no kind of like hinting or foreshadowing or anything. It was just like a moment in the story that basically went, right, we need Mrs. Coulter to become powerful. Like we're not even going to give her much rationale for like, because she literally just approaches them without any fear. It's like she knows exactly what to do. She's only just been introduced to these Spectres in the last episode, and suddenly she's like completely managed to master them, and it was just a bit.
Yeah. One of the most blatant, we've written ourselves into a corner where adults get killed by them and can't fight them, but now our main antagonist is in the same world as them. What the hell do we do? Oh, she can just control them. It's like, oh, really? And I already don't like her as it is. And she's now gone and done this.
Is it the performance you don't like, or is it...
Yeah, the performance. She's just really over the top and annoying.
But also, one thing that I did like about it, it's a nice little Easter egg, is that Andrew Scott's in it, isn't he, as the shaman guy? And he's pretty good so far. But I like the fact that his demon... is voice acted by Phoebe Waller-Bridge.
Yeah.
Okay.
And obviously
It's a
those two...
Fleabag reunion, yeah.
It's like a Fleabag reference, because obviously in Fleabag they were sort of an item for a bit, and it's a nice little like, oh, she's his demon. Oh, that's nice, isn't it? But she's only had one line so far. It's like she won't talk. I don't know if she just wasn't available for the episodes or whatever, but she's literally just said, follow me, in like the episode before this one, and then never spoke again. So it's like, why have they cast her? I don't quite understand. But anyway, maybe she'll talk in the next episode. Who the hell knows? It's one of those though where like in the first series they did it loads where, because everyone has a demon, like an animal demon, and it's like obviously it's pretty big on budget, like it's burning through the budget to have to animate everyone's demon all the time. So they just had like convenient demons that like lived up people's sleeves and stuff, or like were really small little like moths. Yeah, and yeah. It's the same deal with this. I think it's like, yeah, they've just kind of like written around the fact Phoebe Waller-Bridge wasn't available, so she just doesn't talk, even though she would do. But yeah, anyway, that's more gripe. But I like the idea of her being his demon. It's sweet and all that. But yeah, I've also been watching something else, which kind of leads me on to Kristian, because I know that he's probably been watching something similar. I've been watching a lot of videos of the glitches on Cyberpunk 2077. And I know, Kristian, that you had some things to say about Cyberpunk 2077,
Yeah.
right?
Well, I am one of the, some might say, unfortunate people who, got it day one, started playing at midnight as soon as it unlocked. At the time of recording, it's been out almost a week. It's been out 6 days. They've done a lot of updates, but yeah, it's very, very glitchy. And normally, I don't mind glitches. I mean, Skyrim came out with glitches, and I still love Skyrim. Cyberpunk at the moment has a few game-impacting glitches. The main one, I'm playing it. I'm nowhere near as bad as the people who are playing it on PlayStation 4 and Xbox One, because that is really bad. Because I'm playing it on a PlayStation 5. The game still crashes on occasion. I think I've had it crash 4 times while I've been playing it.
That's really bad.
Which is a lot of times for a game to crash just randomly.
Yeah.
I mean, it crashed 3 times day one. Then they did an update where they said we fixed most of the crashes, and since then it has only crashed once. So I was like, okay, so the crashes are getting less frequent. That's nice.
It's all just a big joke. Like, let's just call it what it is. This game was delayed by over a year and has come out and is this bad. Like, it's shocking. And the thing... So, my thing is, it's been a bad release, whatever. Maybe they've had some issues, that's fine. The thing that's really annoyed me about all of this is the way they worded their apology. And, like, one of the first sentences they had in the apology was saying, we're sorry that we didn't show people in-game footage from PS4 and Xbox One. So people didn't have a fully informed decision. And to me, that makes it sound like they intentionally they knew about these bugs were going to be on the current gen, and they purposely hid them. I was like, that is scummy.
The problem that, like, there's a lot of people out there who are saying, oh, I mean, I can't believe they haven't fixed these glitches and these bugs. I don't think it was delayed because they couldn't fix these glitches and bugs. I think it was delayed because originally it wouldn't run at all on the PS4 or Xbox One.
Then don't release it.
They'd been so ambitious. I said the same thing. I said they should have just apologized to people and said, we're going to release it March next year on PlayStation 5 and Xbox Series X only. We're sorry, it's a very ambitious big game, so it's only going to release on next gen because it will only run on next gen. Instead, they've tried to get it out before Christmas, and it's been a clunky mess. And you know what? Like, glitches aside, I'm really enjoying the narrative. The characters are all really good. Like, there's a really good game there that is just plagued with horrendous glitches. A lot of the characters are super sort of like creative, and you can like the conversations that you get into them, they've really developed the characters. I mean, there's one character you meet early on called Judy, and like her actual look tells stories about her, because if you like go into the photo mode and zoom in, she's got a tattoo of Radiohead song lyrics on her arm.
What lyrics are they?
I think it's from I think it's from the
Pyramid Song.
Yeah, Pyramid Song.
Yeah.
She's got Pyramid Song on one arm, and then there's some red. She's got some Red Hot Chili Pepper lyrics on her other arm.
Ooh.
She just has "I'm a creep" tattooed on her forehead, because that's how you do all the best character development. Just tattoo it on their face.
Yeah, Radiohead actually don't like that song, so get it right.
Here we go.
No, they went through a period of Radiohead podcast. They went through a period of not liking that song because it was overplayed. But now they play it because they're not dickheads.
Because no one knows any of their other songs.
So we've, I think, spoken about what we've been watching for long enough. So we're going to move on to the next section of the podcast now, the main section, and we're going to talk about some of our favourite films and television of this year. So who's going to start me off?
Oh, sorry.
Okay. So who wants to go first?
Go on, host.
I don't know if you guys watched this. Probably did. Remember the first lockdown? Do you remember Tiger King lockdown?
Oh, as if Tiger King's this year. Like, that feels
Tiger
so
King
long ago.
Is this year. This happened this year. Did you guys watch Tiger King? What did you think?
I watched it in a day.
You finished it in a day?
Did it in a day.
Wow.
You binge watched it all?
Yeah, it's like the first. Like I'm not a binge watcher, but I just did it in the day. It got it
Good
done.
lord.
Got it out
Good
of the
lord.
way. It was a bit of a roller coaster of a day.
Yeah, it was.
Yeah.
It was. James, did you watch it?
I think I have like 2 episodes left. I think I'm just not a huge documentary fan. I don't, the style and the format just doesn't grip me. Like, so each episode I was watching, I was like, I'm enjoying this. It's pretty good. Oh, it's a 45-minute episode. I'm probably got about 15 minutes left. I'd look, and I'd only watched 10 minutes. I was like, it just felt like it was going on for such a long time for me. So I was never excited to watch the next episode, but I enjoyed the bits that I watched. It was interesting.
It was like, looking back at it now, is it as good a documentary as we kind of thought it was at the time? Because it was more of a collective cultural moment, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Tiger King. Everyone was in this situation where we had to watch something, and then Tiger King came along, and it was like the perfect time, and sort of it became a meme. And Tiger King himself, I can't remember his name.
Joe Exotic.
Exotic.
Joe Exotic, yeah, of course. And Carol Baskin. They were memed to death. But if you look at that actual story, it's quite a dark story with quite dark characters. Joe Exotic doesn't seem like the most stable person. There were a lot of weird events in that story. It was an interesting story, for sure. I think it did go on a couple of episodes too long. It was dragging out towards the end, I think. But yeah, there were some quite shocking moments. The most shocking moment of it was when the guy killed himself on camera. You
Oh,
remember
God,
that?
yeah.
And it was like, I really wasn't expecting that. The fact it was filmed, and it was like,
I'm
Jesus
surprised. Like, I
Christ,
know
man.
you don't actually see him, but I'm still quite shocked they were allowed to air that. Like, they're allowed to put
Yeah.
that in a public documentary, because it's
Yeah, totally. Like, it's the moment someone basically
ends
dies,
their
right?
life,
So
yeah.
it's very, very, yeah. And the fact you can't actually see it, you only see the reaction to it, makes it all the more kind of crazy. And it was at that
It's only
moment that I
just out
thought,
of frame though.
yeah, no, totally. And it was at that moment, though, that I thought, oh, this isn't really a joke, though, is it? This, everyone's kind of laughing and making fun of this show, and it's all a big laugh, but, like, wait a sec, someone actually died, and, yeah, this happened, and it's probably not as comedic as we think. But it was an interesting documentary. It was an interesting moment for everyone. Interesting start to the year.
I feel like part of the reason I started watching it was because it was the sort of like 2020 online version of the water cooler moment, where it was just everyone was talking about it. So if you hadn't seen it, you were just kind of out the loop.
Yeah, it was just wild, like the events of what occurs. It's just like it's just crazy stuff that goes on. It's kind of hard to believe. So you just go, "What the fuck? I've just got to see what the fuck everyone's talking about. Like, what the hell is this?" And then you just, I don't think it was the best documentary in terms of its structure or its format in the world, but it was just a bit of a wild ride, and just a bit very strange and very colourful characters. Be a dark tale. Has anyone seen Blackfish? That's pretty mental.
I've not seen that.
Blackfish. Blackfish was really good.
I've not seen it. Blackfish.
It's all about like a sort of an expose on SeaWorld and how they handle
killer
whales and that, the orcas. It's mad. But that didn't come out in 2020, so it doesn't matter. Let's move on.
Yeah, exactly. So I'm going to pick another documentary for this one because I don't know if you guys are as into documentaries as I am, but that's irrelevant because I'm going to talk about documentary. This was a documentary. It was really well put together, really well made, but incredibly dark. And I'm sure one of you must have seen it. It's called "Don't Fuck with Cats."
Oh yeah,
I've seen it.
You guys seen that?
I saw it. Yeah.
I would recommend that because it is a really horrible story, but it's only 3 episodes, and it was really, really gripping. It's basically about a guy who posts videos to the internet of him killing cats, which is horrible. But it's about the investigation that the internet kind of put into finding this person, and all the internet sleuths and the kind of like looking deeply within these videos for clues as to who this person was, like looking at things like the type of, I can't remember specific examples, but it was stuff like the type of wood on the door frame could only have been produced in this country or that country, so therefore we're going to narrow it down.
There was some like stuff where they were looking at the reflections in the windows, weren't they? And they were like, "Oh, and that's a gas station outside. Let's try and figure out where that gas station is, and then we can figure out where his house is."
That's pretty cool. It's like some Sherlock
Holmes
stuff.
Yeah, and it was really good because the story really does spiral into... It does spiral and spiral and spiral.
I was going to say, doesn't it start with cats and then just sort of descend?
Yeah, so it turns out I don't really mind spoiling this because at the end of the day, it's a documentary. It's about a true life subject. The information's already out there, and really, is it the fine line between entertainment and kind of actual real life events? Should we really have spoiler warnings on something like this, right? Basically, it turns out that this guy who's been killing the cats has actually been like killing people as well, and he's actually behind another like internet nasty video, essentially a snuff video where he kills a person. And so it's all about this guy and what they find out about him and what they uncover, and it's really really well put together. It's mostly put together with sort of footage that's captured from social media and captured from Facebook and already existing footage, and then occasionally you'll have some talking head interviews with people who were kind of at the forefront of the internet investigation, because I don't really think the police were involved that much initially. So it's a style that Netflix has kind of adopted, and it works really well. I'd recommend it. It's not the most Christmassy of it's not the most Christmassy of things to talk about. Yeah. For my final pick, you guys will probably have this on your lists because it's something we all watched, right? We all enjoyed The Boys, right?
Yeah.
Second season of The Boys.
Yeah, God, yeah.
That was this year, Ben. That happened, and it's weird because like I almost forgot that it happened because it doesn't appear on many like end of year best of lists or anything like that.
There's a reason for that.
Yeah, I mean there is an argument to say the second series isn't as good as the first series, but I still really enjoyed this season of The Boys. Yeah. The Boys is actually something I've only watched this year. I didn't watch it last year when it came out initially, and I binged season 1 and 2 in one go. So maybe that kind of affected how I viewed the whole thing. But yeah, I really enjoyed it. I'm looking forward to season 3. But so yeah, Ben, you don't think it's good?
I enjoyed season 3. I think it's
I don't come to you.
I can't really remember my thoughts on it. I remember not enjoying it hugely, but I was literally sat there now thinking, what was my opinion on The Boys? I thought it was alright.
I enjoyed it. I think I didn't get into it nearly as much as I did the first season, because the first season it all got dumped at once and I just got to binge it and get super into it. Whereas there was all this lead up. I was waiting for season 2 for so long. And then again, it's just like coming out weekly. I was like, I'm enjoying this, but I'm not getting into it as much. I think I would rather them dump it all at once so I can just do one huge binge session.
Are you not getting into it as much because it's not very engaging? It's not very good.
Well, I don't know, because I keep saying that I'll rewatch season 2 in one go, like now that I can, but I've never gone back to it. I enjoyed it.
Tells.
Maybe. I think it's still good. I like the stuff they do.
I don't know, it just really, like, from season 1 onwards, it really...
Season 1's incredible.
Season 1
was really good.
I think because I watched it all in one go, I found it easier to stick with all the characters and their stories and stuff. Like, I think some of the characters are really memorable. Obviously, like Homelander's like
the best.
What a great character! You know, it's like every scene steals every scene he's in and everything, and like the
Anthony Starr's incredible.
It's Homelander and Butcher at the show.
Yeah, and I was gonna say Butcher, as always, like Carl Urban carries a lot of that show.
I really liked some of the scenes and episodes we got where it was like Huey and Mother's Milk going off and doing stuff. I thought they had a nice sort of dynamic. Thought they worked really well together.
I love Mother's Milk.
Yeah, he's
as
really
a character.
good.
Like he's so good as a character.
Yeah.
Like, you feel like when it comes down to a fight, he can still hold his own. But then when he's out the fight, you get this sort of nice. I was going to say maternal, even though it's called Mother's Milk. He's got like a nice sort of fatherly figure role, which I quite. It's a nice character. He feels well rounded, which I quite like.
Yeah. I mean, I did spend sort of the last 2 episodes of season 2 being like, you better not kill him, or I'm not tuning in for season 2. You better not kill him. Do not kill him now. I
thought in the house, like the episode where Black Noir attacks him in the house and he lobs a throw knife and it hits him in the chest. I was like, they've just killed Mother's Milk. He's done. And then when afterwards he's like, he's fine. I'm like,
interesting.
Yeah,
I've read
the
books, so I don't have any of that sense of peril.
Yeah.
Well, so yeah, maybe that's it. Maybe that's why you're not enjoying it as much, because we're enjoying the ride, whereas you aren't, because you know where it's going. To an extent.
I would partially agree. I would say a big criticism of season 2 is that it's really not the books almost at all.
Oh, okay.
And the books is way better. So
the books is better, is they?
Yeah. Why? I don't know. I'm just sat there going, why have you bothered adapting? There's points in the show I was like, you've just got the name and you're just doing your own what you're doing. So I don't know. But yeah, the characters are the same. Stormfront's not. The main lot are the same. But other than that, that's kind of it, really. Talking of adaptations, one of my picks is wholly original.
God's sake.
I also forgot this show was actually this year, because this show predates coronavirus, the pandemic, and I was like, what? This was in February? Oh, God. It's a show I love. It's a show called Inside Number 9. So good. So it's on the BBC, written by Rhys Shearsmith and Steve Pemberton, who are from half of the League of Gentlemen, and also did a show called Psychoville. And this year was the 5th season. And so the show is, every episode is entirely new, different episode, and it's all set within the guise of something to do with the number 9. So one episode is set within a train car, the 9th train car on a train. One episode revolves around a size 9 shoe.
Yeah.
And this season was a pretty strong season. I think they've gone beyond just doing 30. Like, so each episode's 30 minutes, and you're in and you're out, and it's done. But they've like gone beyond like the story structure, and they've experimented with loads of stuff. So like one episode this year it was set during the month of December in this family, and it's one scene over the month. So it's like the calendar is the structure. So you see that they'd open the number 1 of a calendar, and it would go into the scene for the day, and then the next day and stuff like that. And they did like a live episode as well. It's a really great show. It's insanely well written. Not every episode is the same tonally. Some episodes are fully comedic, some are deadly serious, some are horror. So like one episode there'll be a vampire, and one episode it's, you know, a silent comedic episode with Dennis Lawson from Star Wars. It's just great. It's really worth the watch. Some are better than others.
Yeah, I always think that when
Yeah.
you do like a bunch of different sort of genres in one show, you run the risk of maybe like horror is you're really good at that. So then when you do comedy, it's weaker. But there's also going to be the people that came to this show for comedy. So when you do horror, you're like, well, this isn't what I want from this show. So I'm interested to see how well they've done it.
Yeah, I think you'll buy it because the episodes most of the time are pretty great, and The League of Gentlemen is a comedy horror show. That's where they've come from. Their two loves are comedy and horror, so those particularly are their strong suits, and then they chuck in these awesome drama episodes, like the episode I said about the Christmas one, the calendar one. That's quite serious and played very straight, and it's just great.
Yeah, in this season of Inside number 9 has been on my list for a while because I remember back at uni I binged the previous seasons of Inside number 9 and really enjoyed them all. Like, because straight away I was like, I wonder what show this is, what this show's going to be like. And straight away, I think the first episode is the hide and seek one where they're all in the wardrobe.
Sardines. Yeah. They all go in one big wardrobe, the whole cast.
Yeah. It's and
Set in a wardrobe.
Immediately from the get-go, I was like, I know I'm going to really enjoy this show. It's so good.
Also, as well, Reese and Steve, they write and they act in it as well. But some episodes, they're not the leads, so it's also like a who's who of British stars and actors. So it's great because you can just hire these people to turn up for a day or two, and they act in this one really well written episode, and so. And it's funny enough, they predated coronavirus. One episode in season 5 is people doing monologues to a camera on webcams. that predated Zoom calls. So, and even that was really good. So it was really, really strong. And I'll do one more pick, and then I'll move on. I'll just do one more. A film from this year. It's also a documentary. But it's
been a lot of good documentaries this year.
A little bit different though. I wondered if I'd be curious if James would be interested in it. I think I talked about it off camera. The Beastie Boys story, I think, was this year.
Oh yeah,
a documentary. It's a documentary about the Beastie Boys, told by the Beastie Boys themselves, and it's directed by Spike Jonze, who did Her. But like a documentary, it's interviews and this is more like a PowerPoint presentation. So it's in an auditorium, like a theatre, and the two survived. There's 3 members of the Beastie Boys. One's died. Adam Yauch died a few years ago, and it's the 2 surviving members. They go on stage to the audience and tell the audience and us the story of the Beastie Boys, and behind them is the screen that they will then cut to, the footage of the time and interviews and all this and that and stuff. And it's the story about them, told by them. Some documentaries are like leaning one way, bias. I think they played it pretty straight. They acknowledged their flaws. I don't know though. I don't know the full story, but it was really interesting, and a different way to tell a documentary story, of the structure, quite a different way.
I was going to say, because if ever there was a documentary that you think would fall into the biased section, it is one that is presented by the people it's about. Like the fact that it's all coming from them. They could say whatever they want, really. But it'd be interesting to look up.
Yeah, but that's my picks.
Yeah, fair enough.
Cool. Well, thank you, Ben. Let's go to James next then.
Well, I'm actually bonkers, I know, for a film podcast. I'm going to pick some actual films that came out in actual cinemas this year. Crazy.
Wow.
I know. Because it did happen. There was about 5 of them.
Nah, you're lying.
When we decided we were going to do this podcast, I did have this issue that I think apparently everyone's kind of had, where like there weren't any films straight away. I was like, yes, that blew me away. It was incredible. Looking down the ones that came out and I enjoyed, they are all like, I enjoyed that. It was pretty good, but not really amazing. I did like The Old Guard that I mentioned last week came out this year, and I really enjoyed that. It was a nice, fun ride. I'm going to say it again. Sonic the Hedgehog was fun. It came out this year. Whatever. It was alright. But there's 2 films particularly that came out this year that they had a bit, they shone through a little bit more. The Invisible Man, I really enjoyed, just because it felt like they hadn't just gone, we're a horror film, let's be jump scary. It felt like there was more thought behind this film. Like there was some psychological thought. There was the very sort of real threat of it's a woman stuck in an abusive relationship. Like that's not otherworldly. It's not supernatural. Like that is very real. So I quite liked that. And then it felt like not super clever in the plot, but just the way it was made, in that there's a lot of scenes where you're like, are they supposed to be, with the camera framing, are they supposed to be telling us that the Invisible Man's there? But there's no way he could be there, so I think they're just trying to offset us, and it makes you feel kind of uncomfortable, and it immerses you a bit and brings you into her world, which I quite liked.
Like the paranoia, yeah.
Yeah, like you feel a bit paranoid watching the film because she's paranoid. It works really well. The finale, like the sort of, it does fall into a little bit generic towards the end when you get this sort of, oh, and now he's in the rain, so the suit's breaking, and now it's just a slasher thriller again. It's not. It fell a bit flat there.
That tends to be the case with a lot of films like that. Like I've watched a few horror films where I've been watching it, and like, oh, this is really inventive and different, and then the last 20 minutes they sort of like, well, we don't know how to finish this story in a new and inventive way, so we'll just do a typical horror film thing.
Yeah, and it's just a bit disappointing, really. Like you were onto something so good, but you stopped it from being great.
I thought it was a solid, pretty good. The biggest compliment I can give it is it did what I want from a remake. It has nothing to do with the original. It solely is it's been remade. The only thing similar with which I watched the original this year as well. The only thing similar with the original is that somebody turns invisible.
Yeah.
And other than that, it's a whole different thing. So I'll give it all the props. I'll give it all my respect that it actually did what I want from a remake, and that it remade it and did something new.
Yeah. And she's really good in it. Like, it's a great performance from Elizabeth Moss. And speaking of performances that carried the film, the other film that I really enjoyed this year was Onward. It was a really nice story of two brothers just going on a little adventure to try and fix their dead dad. No, it's
back together.
So it's the Disney film that came out this year, and Chris Pratt and Tom Holland, they work so well as brothers together. I think obviously you've got the chemistry that's carried on from working together on Infinity War and all that, and it's just a really nice story, good performances, some nice world building. It's a nice, interesting sort of concept. When everyone, like, before it came out, like, a lot of people were saying, like, it's a real tearjerker, and, like, Chris Pratt couldn't really watch it, and, like, he struggled to record it because it made him cry so much. If you have gone through some of the stuff that they have, I can see why. I haven't, so I didn't have that personal grounding connection to it. But it's just a really nice story, some good characters. And let's be honest, there's not been a lot of great films this year, so I didn't have too many to pick from. Like,
Yeah.
I don't know if it still is. The last time I checked, Bad Boys for Life was the highest grossing film of 2020. Like, that's the state we're in. Like, fun film.
Yeah.
I enjoyed it.
Oh dear, oh dear.
I was just going to jump on the end of Onward and say, no, I agree. Like, it is one of the better films that's come out this year. I know I read a lot of stuff where people were like, oh, Onward doesn't feel very Pixar. It's, it's not very good. It's not very Disney. And I was like, I don't know. I feel like this is very Pixar. It's got that magical element, but it's also very grounded in, like, a story about two brothers going on an adventure and sort of rediscovering their sort of bond as brothers, because they've sort of drifted apart being two very different people. It's just a very heartwarming story wrapped in a great fantasy Disney world.
And I might be alone in this, Kristian. I don't know if Ben or Dan have seen this. I also didn't find it entirely predictable. Like, it didn't throw me for twists and turns, but there were certain bits I was like, okay, that's not where I saw this is going. Fair enough.
No. Like, especially the ending, like the way that the entire sort of final scene went.
Yeah, man.
I was like, oh, this is a very different direction than I thought the film was
really
going to go, and it actually sort of made it more wholesome.
Yeah.
In a way, like.
I'm pretty sure it's on Disney Plus now, so I really recommend you guys give it a look.
I highly recommend it. It's been divisive with critics and sort of people watching it, but no, I highly recommend it. I thought it was a very good film.
Any other picks, Kristian, for this year?
Yeah, I've got a couple I can talk about. So basically, when we discussed this and we're like, we'll do Best of 2020 podcast, I was like, yeah, cool. And then I sat back and I thought, and I was like, I don't think I really have any Best of 2020s.
So I went off. Good year for cinema.
Yeah, no, I went off and I watched some from this year that I'd missed. So I was like, come on, there's got to be some good films in here somewhere. So the first one, again in the same vein, I watched in the same vein as The Invisible Man, I watched a horror film. It's called Possessor.
I fucking knew it. I knew you'd say that. God damn it! Don't spoil it, please.
I'm not going to spoil it for anyone because I would really like people to watch it. But it's a film written and directed by Brandon Cronenberg, David Cronenberg's son. David Cronenberg being the master of sort of body horror with stuff like Videodrome. It's got Andrea Riseborough and I'm reading notes now, but yeah, Andrea Riseborough, Christopher Abbott, both absolutely kill it in like sort of major roles. Sean Bean and Jennifer Jennifer Jason Leigh.
James's ears have pricked up.
I heard Sean Bean and I'm all in.
Yeah, Sean Bean and Jennifer Jason Leigh both kill it in sort of like supporting roles. And it's like sort of an interesting, almost cyberpunk story, like horror. It's like a very slow burn narrative, but it's about a woman who works as what would probably be described as a possessor. She works for a secretive company where they commit assassinations for high paying clients, but the way that they do it is they do it through brain implants. So she will possess and inhabit someone else's body, cause them to commit the murder and then kill themselves.
Yeah.
So it doesn't look like an assassination, it looks like a murder-suicide.
Okay, that's an interesting concept, to be fair. I could get behind that.
Yeah. So the film sort of follows her through one case and how this case ends up being quite different to the usual sort of possession. But it's got some sort of great like there's a great scene where she possesses this other character where they use practical effects and sort of flashing lights. It's just sort of flashing lights and then you watch her body melt away, but it's like a wax shell of her body and then reform in a wax shell of his body. It's
That does sound pretty
so
cool,
good.
to be fair.
Like it's a really cool possession sequence, and there's some great, like, living up to his dad's legacy. There's some sort of great body horror-ish sequences where bits get gored and it's like definitely super practical, and he's stayed away from the CGI particularly just to honor that family name. I highly recommend watching it. It's a super interesting film. And I recommend watching the uncut version, which is the version I watched. That's the version that's been sort of recommended. And for a slow burn horror, it's not very long. Like a lot of slow burn horrors tend to be like nearing on 2.5, 3 hours. This one is 1 hour and 40 minutes, so it's like
That's
just
very
over feature
doable.
length.
Yeah, I'll give that a look, actually.
And then the other film, way on the other end of the spectrum.
It's Sonic the Hedgehog.
No. I watched a very, very wonderful rom-com.
Oh my god.
Yeah,
You did wrong.
called Palm Springs.
Oh god, yeah.
Might have heard of it.
I feel like I've heard of this.
It was a Hulu original, came out in July, and stars Andy Samberg and Kristin Milioti.
We know who Andy Samberg is.
Yeah.
Dude.
I know
Kristin-
the face of the girl. I don't
Yeah,
know her name.
she's the mother in How I Met Your Mother. For anyone who watched it to the last season.
She's good.
Yeah, so both like really good actors, and it's like sort of a nice dramatic comedy about her character Sarah she's like the sort of black sheep of the family. Like her family see her as a disappointment, and she's at her sister's wedding in Palm Springs, and meets she meets Andy Samberg's character Niles. And they have sort of a romantic evening after the wedding, and she ends up following him. All of a sudden, he gets attacked. She ends up following him into a mysterious cave, and they end up stuck in a time loop together.
It's Groundhog
Ba-
Day.
This is not where I saw this film going at all.
Yeah, it's a very Groundhog Day situation, but Andy Samberg his character Niles has been stuck in this time loop so long that he doesn't remember what his old life was. He's just been living the same day over and over again, and now she's ended up stuck in it with him, and it's all about them coming to terms of how to deal with each other because they're the only ones that remember the day when it's over.
Yeah. What if you did Groundhog Day but with 2 people?
Yeah.
Picture. Yeah.
Yeah, but like it's sort of a very wholesome story. I was expecting it to be like sort of straight up wacko comedy because it is like a Lonely Island production.
I was about to say when Andy Samberg's involved, that's the kind of thing you expect.
Yeah, and it does have those sort of moments. You know, there's a lot of moments where he's like, you know, there's one moment where she's like, "Well, what about if we kill ourselves?" And he was like, "Trust me, like." You can kill yourself all you want. You just wake up back at the beginning of the day, and then she starts driving head on towards a truck, and Andy Samberg just goes, "Well," and undoes his seatbelt and lies his head against the dashboard. And she's like, "What you?" She's like, "What you doing?" And he's like, "Going for a quick death."
Oh,
that's dark, and I kind of love it.
It's a very wholesome film that I'd recommend people watch.
Yeah, that sounds
and,
right.
yeah, they're both on my list.
Yeah, even though it is sort of unoriginal because, you know, people have done the Groundhog Day story thing. They sort of make it feel a bit more original just because of the way it's set and the way it's paced.
That's our best of 2020. It's not been a classic year.
No.
There's been some good stuff in there.
Yeah.
Some diamonds in the rough.
I'll just finish off and say, for all of those people wondering why we didn't mention Tenet, it's because it wasn't good.
In his opinion.
Say no more. So with that, we'll move on to our final section of the podcast. We decided to mix up things a little bit with a little bit of a concept for this next one. So the idea is you're a time traveller that's come to the year 2020 and you want to catch up with all the best films of the last decade. So I'm going to ask you guys, what would you suggest to this time travel? What would be on your list for the best films of the last 10 years? I'm going to start off with James.
Okay, well, so first of all, you've got to show them an absolute 10 out of 10, 5-star, perfect film. And the obvious choice is you show them La La Land, because that film was the definition of perfect. It was fun. It had a nice story, some great performances. While it's a musical, it's not like your Greatest Showman or your Hairsprays where it's all big and dancey and songy. It always kind of still feels a bit grounded, which is nice. It feels a bit more raw. Like, there's just some great scenes in there. The scene where Ryan Gosling goes to pick Emma Stone up for the audition, and she has this moment where she's like, "I'm not going. I've gone through too much rejection. What if I'm not that 1 in 100 that makes it? What if I'm one of the other 99?" Which really struck a chord with me at the time, because that's back when I was still trying to be an actor. And I was like, oh shit, what if I am one of the 99? Which I am. And I just really enjoyed it. And then it's just this love story, but where the message, for me, seems to be work on yourself first, be secure in your own person, and then go find love, rather than this typical Hollywood story that we get is like, just find someone who loves you and it'll fix all your problems. I think this is a message we needed more. So I'd show them La La Land for, you know, the top of the top. Absolute perfect, great film. You then show them Avengers Infinity War, because it's like, at the moment, what cinema is all big on, it's your world building, it's your cinematic universes, and I think Infinity War is the pinnacle of that. It's the best way to show all these different storylines intertwined and coming together. It's a great way of how well it balances all these characters for one film. I think that's brilliant. Then what you start showing them is the lows. You've shown them the best films, you've shown them the best universes, then you show them, I think it was 2016's Fantastic Four, because my god, that film was horrendous, and you've got to show them the mistakes that can be made, and show them what not to do with films, and this film is the pinnacle of that. Oh, it's a superhero film, let's set it all in one room, that's interesting, right? No, it's fucking boring. Oh, a big final fight? Shall we have, loads of interesting choreography and, good fight scenes? Now, let's just have them all attack once. It doesn't work, so they attack together, and then, yeah, that's the end of the fight. Shite. Absolutely fucking awful, this film. It's genuinely the only superhero film I've ever walked out of the theatres and gone, that was bad. Every other one, I'm like, I enjoyed it for this bit, there was this, there was that. There is nothing redeeming about this film. and I'm still, like 4 years later, so angry about how awful it was. And then, fourth and finally, you show them a bit of a mix. You show them, something that started off really good. It was at the absolute pinnacle. It was the highest, and then just crumbled and became one of the biggest shit shows ever. So you show them all of Game of Thrones. Take them on that journey.
Yeah, that's a good one.
So yeah, those are my picks to catch someone up on the last 10 years of cinema and TV.
I'd love to show
all the aspects in there.
I'd love to show someone Avengers Infinity War with no context, if they've been asleep, if they've been out of the last decade, to be introduced to the Guardians and not know why is there a talking raccoon in a tree for some reason.
Yeah, there's that.
I mean, they never explain it in the first one. It's fine.
What's Thanos doing? No context. I kind of enjoy that.
It'd be so funny for someone who's only seen like
Iron
Man, the Incredible Hulk, and maybe the first Captain America, and then you're just like, right, here's Infinity War, and they're like, what? Wait, how did we get here?
Yeah, the Hulk's changed actors. Where's Edward Norton? What is going on?
Kristian, I'll come to you next. What are your
Kristian's not last.
ideas?
Oh my god, he wasn't ready for that.
Oh, sorry.
No, I was gonna say, like, I went down the horror route because I figured it's a time traveler, but it's one time traveler, and we're all giving them something. They're gonna walk away with 16 pieces of media, preferably. So I'll just give them the highlights of horror. So if we're going in chronological, I would start with 2012's Maniac, starring Elijah Wood. It was a remake, but it was a very good remake. I enjoyed all the first-person perspective. It's a sort of good introduction into sort of the way that horror tried to start evolving at that sort of period of time. It might not be everyone's top pick, but it's one of my favourite films of the decade. So I would start with that. Then, probably not to Ben's surprise, I would go on to It Follows.
Oh yeah, it doesn't. Okay.
Because again, it was another one of my favourites. It was another one of the more interesting ways that horror tried to do something new, but with sort of using older ideas. It's got a great soundtrack, great acting, and is a film that sits with you after you've finished watching.
Yeah, it's a really cool idea. It follows as well. The whole concept of just this, thing literally following you until it kills you, and it doesn't run or anything. It's not massively threatening. It just kind of like stumbles slowly towards you.
Yeah,
You've got to constantly keep on the move and constantly sort of stay out of its way. It's cool.
Yeah. And then I have two more. One of them is horror. One of them isn't. So I'll start with the horror one and go into the TV show, and then say I'd show them The Haunting of Hill House. Like I said on the streaming podcast, I was never a big fan of Netflix particularly, but that show blew me away. I've never been particularly big into ghost stories or ghost films because I find them all very samey, but that one felt like a very unique perspective, and oh my god, episode 6 of that show is one of the best shot episodes of a TV show I've ever seen. It's I think the entire thing is 4 continuous shots with only 4 cuts throughout the episode, and the way that they move the camera so that it sort of pans across the room, and then when it pans back there's a ghost stood there. It's so clever. To finish off, just completely disregard just to completely disregard the horror thing I was going for, I'd show them Your Name.
Okay, yeah.
Sit them down, get them to watch an anime. It's so good.
Strong film.
Yeah,
You're not a fan, Ben?
I'm a fan. I'm shaking my head at James.
Oh, right. James, you're not. James is not a fan.
I just
then.
don't like anime.
Honestly,
Fair enough.
we are going to end up watching that film at some point because it's honestly one of my favourites of the decade. If it could be a contender for my favourite of the decade, because I went into that film at the cinema knowing little to nothing about it. I was like, my mate wants to go see it, so I'll go see it. And came out and ended up going home and writing like a good third of one of my uni essays on it.
Wow.
Because it was just such a fantastic film. Is currently the highest grossing film in Japan, overtaking Spirited Away, which was a pretty big deal when it came out. And there's not enough I can say about that film without sort of spoiling it. It's just a real like emotional roller coaster with sort of drama, comedy. It's got everything that you need to tell
really
a great, like, unique story.
Really like well animated, amazing kind of amazing
fantastic soundtrack
colours
as well.
And it's really a good soundtrack if you're into that kind of thing. Thank you, Kristian, for that. Ben, what would your picks be?
I was heavily debating showing this guy the 2016 presidential election.
That's probably a good show.
I thought that would be like pretty mean, just like ruin his day. But James showed him Fantastic Four, so he's already got his day ruined. So no. But I thought, like, what kind of like pseudo encompasses the idea of this blondish man who almost has like a cult like following around him. What kind of encompasses the decade in a film and kind of these kind of attitudes. And it also was a great film. I would show him The Master, Paul Thomas Anderson's film The Master with Joaquin Phoenix and Philip Seymour Hoffman. Set in the 50s, it's about Joaquin Phoenix who it's basically, it's not Scientology, but it basically is. It's about the origins of Scientology and L. Ron Hubbard, and that's who Philip Seymour Hoffman is playing, but they don't say it because it allows them to do their own thing. And I was watching, going, well, you could kind of, there's kind of like this Trump vibe about him, how he's able to, through bullshit, entice these people and get them on his cause, and they'll just ignore the blatant disregards of logic of the book he writes, of their beliefs and stuff. And it's a very interesting film. I would also then show him a telly show, basically what we've been up to while he's been asleep, kind of, called The Leftovers. A glorious, fantastic show by Damon Lindelof, the King, about set in our world, but 2% of the world's population just disappear. And it's about the people left over who have to deal with it. It's like, while you've been asleep, this is what we've been up to, kind of that was like the attitude. It's 3 seasons, 3 and done. The first season's adapted from the book of the same name, good, but then the second and third season they go for it, and it's all new material, and it gets a bit more weird, closer to Lost in that it kind of, the bit of the mystery, a bit stranger, and they work with the author as well, so it's kind of got the blessing and stuff, and it just kind of, it's a bit of a grim watch, but it's fast, awesome character work. The directing is so good. Like I say, it gets really weird. It's pretty serious, but you were so worth the time. But then I thought, oh well, if he's having a bit of a grim watch for these 2 films, The Master's not very grim, it's a bit serious, I'll show him a comedy. And I thought, he'll know about Fleabag and the big stuff because he lives in the modern world. So I'm going to show him Toast of London, the Matt Berry extravaganza, this amazing show that's just so funny. Like, it's just so great.
Bloody purchase.
Fucking purchase. And like this, and it's about Stephen Toast, who is a struggling actor, played by Matt Berry, co-written by him. And he also does voiceover work. So every episode begins with him in the voiceover booth. I think it's based off like his real experiences doing voiceover work. Yeah. And it's about his adventures, I guess, trying to be an actor. He doesn't know who Benedict Cumberbatch or Michael Fassbender is. It's like a running joke. Fassbender's got the role. It's like, who? Like he doesn't know who it is. and he's also dealing with his arch nemesis, Ray Bloody Purchase, and he keeps shagging his wife and all this stuff. And there's an episode where an ex-girlfriend gets turned into Bruce Forsyth, the face in a botched botched job. And there's a bit where a rival of the episode he's killed a fox, he's cooking it on a spit, and then Toast takes it off the spit and like throws it and goes like, "Run along, boy! You're free." It's just a dead fox on a spit. It's just so funny. It's a bit weird as well. That's really great. And then I genuinely couldn't decide between picking like Mad Max or The Raid or Whiplash, which is better than La La Land, as for my fourth pick. One of them, whatever he wants. Maybe Mad Max because it's like great action. Those are my picks.
Very good.
But nice mix in there.
Yeah. I mean, the Toast of London came out of left field for me, but I totally agree.
Like it's like on paper, like the dialogue when you read it just isn't funny, but it's the way Matt Berry says
Berry
it.
has got something about him.
Like there's a whole episode where it begins with he just makes the word yes funny, and it just it's great. Those are my picks.
Brilliant.
Nice one.
Go on then, host.
Very good.
Take us away. Round us off.
So to close it out, I'll talk about some of what my picks would be. So I think I mentioned this on the last podcast, and I think this would be a good way to start. It would be Her, the 2013 masterpiece. I think it's obviously like a very quite an emotional film, quite an interesting kind of concept and everything. But it's also would get this person up to speed on how sort of technology is becoming really integrated with people's lives and everything, and how we sort of like forming relationships with our computers, and they're becoming more and more complex as time goes on. Obviously, Her is very much the sort of end point of where we could be going, where you're actually dating an AI. And falling in love with an AI. But it's one of my favourite films, definitely of the last decade. Joaquin Phoenix is my favourite actor, like I mentioned in the last podcast.
Oh, he's got two picks from us. Hey!
Yeah. The soundtrack, it's Arcade Fire, who are one of my favourite bands. And it's just a really interesting film and a very good film as well. So for my second pick, I would pick, I think this came out in 2015 or 16. This is one of my favourite films, probably ever. Birdman, I'm going to pick for that. I know it has its critics, but I really like that film. It was generally regarded as extremely... Yeah, James.
I didn't think it was bad or anything. I thought it was fine.
I just thought there was a lot of acting going on. Everyone was acting really hard.
Guys, you just don't understand cinema. No. I mean, I understand those criticisms for sure. But I just enjoyed it on a technical level. I just enjoyed the fact it was all one take. I enjoyed...
Very clever.
It was really clever. I enjoyed the acting. I enjoyed the characters. A lot of them sort of resonated with me. And I liked the sort of weird sort of kind of jazz drums that I'd occasionally come in and like break things up, and just from an editing standpoint it was really clever, really interesting. It just looks great as well. I think I'd show that them simply, they probably wouldn't be into the film, they probably wouldn't really understand what was going on, but I think I'd show them how far cinema has come, how far filmmaking has come. And it's not relying on CGI, it's just relying on pure kind of good editing. And, final pick. Well, it's not final pick, actually, is it?
Penultimate pick.
Penultimate pick. I'm going to say this is the best TV series ever. It's my favourite TV series ever.
I've already said the best TV series ever. I've already said the best TV series.
What, Game of Thrones?
But have you? Yeah. So, this is wonderful, in my opinion. Breaking Bad.
Yes, absolutely.
You can't not show them Breaking Bad because this TV series pretty much ushered in the golden age of TV as we know it now. And really, it's just incredible. I think it's one of the only TV series that just gets better and better and better as time goes on. There are slow episodes, there are fast episodes, they all work. There are amazing characters. The acting is incredible. Bryan Cranston is
phenomenal,
unbelievable.
Yeah,
what an iconic character. What Wyatt is, so complex and so intricately written, and it's just I've rewatched that show several times, and I've never really been bored or thought, oh, this is dragging. I know what happens, because I notice little details every single time. It's incredible. I think. Yeah, and it didn't outstay its welcome either. The finale again. It has its critics. It does have some critics, as in it's a little bit convenient what happened. But I really enjoyed that aspect of it. All the plot strands tied up perfectly. It ended in a nice over the top kind of clever Walter White-esque way. Where he made this contraption that killed all these Nazis, and it was brilliant. And then he died, and then the series ended.
We're just gonna spoil
Wow,
it for everyone who's not seen it.
Well, okay, possibly
spoilers.
Put an editor's note in, James.
Yeah, I'll put a note in. But this show's however many years old now. If you've not watched it, that is on you.
Yeah. You've been asleep for a decade.
Yeah,
on
yeah.
It is.
I wouldn't tell him
on me.
that Walter White. I wouldn't tell him that Walter White died.
Oh, but Kristian's not seen it.
No, I've not.
Oh, well, you can't be that bothered.
Kristian,
No,
the premise of the show, he gets terminal cancer, so you can kind of put two and two together.
I've seen the first 3 episodes. I really enjoyed the first 3 episodes, and then I was like, right, I'm going to continue watching this, and
Kristian,
just
I'm
never
really sorry, mate.
continued watching it. But no, I'd already had it spoiled.
There we go. He already knew.
Yeah.
He already knew.
It's very hard to go about nowadays without not having, especially if it's something that's talked about as Breaking Bad or Game of Thrones. It's really hard to not have it spoiled.
Yeah,
I know everything that happens in Game of Thrones, and I've seen like 7 episodes.
Yeah. The thing is, it was always inevitable that that's how he'd end up.
Yeah.
But
Terminal
it's just
cancer, it's gonna happen.
It's just the journey of getting there. And what
Oh,
happens.
it's some of the best quality. Again, like you said, maybe the best quality television I've ever watched. It's so good.
It's amazing.
Yeah, just so consistently good all the way through. And so, for my final pick, I'm going to go for a similar pick to previously. I picked the original last week. I'm going to pick the sequel this time. I'm going to show them Paddington 2. Because, that film can do no wrong. Those films can do no wrong. This guy's a time traveller. He's travelled back in time. His brain's probably feeling a little bit mashed. And our picks probably haven't helped that. So calm him down with a bit of Paddington Bear,
But would he understand the intricacies of Paddington 2 if he's not seen the first one, Dan?
That's a very good question. But he is a time traveller. He does understand. He is obviously an intelligent guy. He'll get up to speed,
I honestly thought you were going to be like, and now I'm going to show you Breaking Bad, and I'm going to show you how amazing Bryan Cranston is, and then I'm going to finish off by showing you Godzilla and show you how Bryan Cranston has been wasted since Breaking Bad ended.
I'll show you the first 5 minutes of Godzilla.
Yeah. It's interesting because he is a great actor, but he's never really hit upon that role that transcends Breaking Bad and has broken him out into something else.
Are you gonna though?
No, I don't think. I don't think you can.
Every actor hits that one role that just becomes them, and then everything they do after can be as amazing as it wants to be, but it's never going to transcend that one role that they will be remembered for.
Pretty mad though. People like Harrison Ford have done it twice. Some would say 3 times.
I was going to say there's very rarely you get to hit that a few more times.
Harrison Ford was the highest grossing actor in Hollywood for a long time until the modern blockbusters started making such ridiculous money for being a bit crap.
Well said, James. Well said.
Isn't it like Vin Diesel or someone?
I think it's The Rock. Yeah, I'm pretty sure it's The Rock.
Is it The Rock?
Yeah. George Clooney.
Of course, it's The Rock.
No, it's The Rock because he does stuff like he does cash grabs like Fast and Furious, Rampage, stuff like that. He was in Moana, which was good, but he just does cash grab films that make money.
And he also finds time to eat the 8,000 kilograms of salmon or whatever it eats every day. Like his diet came out, didn't it? It was absolutely ridiculous.
And
he apparently carries like a God knows how many pound gym with him everywhere.
I don't think he physically carries it.
He has an entire portable. He carries it on his back.
Right, so on that note, I think we'll call it a day there, guys.
That was a nice place to round up.
Yeah. So if you enjoyed the podcast, please remember to like and subscribe. It does help us out. It helps with the YouTube algorithm. I don't know what that is, but apparently it helps. But yeah, cheers for watching, and we'll see you next time, guys. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.